For our first afternoon keynote, please join me in welcoming Chris Nicholas, President and CEO of Sam's Club. Chris will be interviewed by Melissa Repko, retail and consumer reporter at CNBC.
Oh, sometimes I get a good feeling, yeah. I get a feeling that I never had before, no.
Well, thank you for joining us. And Chris, thanks for flying in from Arkansas.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's slightly different to Arkansas here in Vegas.
Yes, a little drier, a little bit more entertaining all around. Well, maybe let's start by talking about all the digital features that Sam's has had.
Yeah.
Sam's has really differentiated by leaning on technology, and I'm curious why that's become such a big focus for you.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, the club model over the years has always been known for great items and great value. And what we found again and again was that members were asking us for convenience. They were asking us for great experiences. And we knew that we had an advantage as Sam's Club from a cultural point of view of being innovators. We've generally been pioneers. We're the sort of small $90 billion business in the Walmart sort of fold. We've always been able to innovate. And when in 2016, we made a decision that we would think about technology different and we would put technology in service of people. So be people-led, tech-powered versus trying to take technology and fit it into all of our operations for its own sake. And so we got really excited about some of the problems that members were asking us to solve. And right at the heart of that was, please take friction out of my life. And so we knew that technology would be the way to do that. And you know, from 2016 through to now, a lot of the things that we started back then have really come into fruition. So the one thing I would say is that some of these grand unveils like Scan and Go, where people can shop on their phone, 30-some% of our members now are using it frequently and it's growing rapidly. Or these computer vision arches that we've got that people can just exit with no friction. They have scaled really quickly to market, but the groundings of them are from 2016 when we started to create an innovation hub in Dallas to in a really small space. It was really, you know, sort of duct tape and baling wire, honestly, early days. But we learned and we failed and we learned and we failed, and we've ended up solving associate problems and member problems at scale. And it's a lot of fun.
I recently went to your soon-to-be newest store. It's in the Dallas area, and one of the biggest changes is that there is no place to check out. People have to rely on their phone to do that with Scan and Go. Why did you decide to go that direction?
Yeah, great. Thank you for visiting. We've got a new club opening in Dallas, Grapevine. Opens next Wednesday on the 17th. And it's kind of the statement of where we want to go in the future. And as you say, one of the things that's a feature of that is we have no checkouts. And here's the thing, we find that when you can create a digital relationship with a member, you know them better and you can serve them better. And when a member is digitally engaged, that means shopping online, and it means being digitally engaged in the club. So using Scan and Go, exiting through the exit arches with no friction, they become a lot more loyal. So our renewal rate's higher. They spend 3x more than if they are not digitally engaged. So it makes good business, and it connects us really well with those members, gives us a lot of data, allows us to solve even more of their problems. So this will be the first club where we will have 100% digital engagement of online to offline, of phone and shop. And that's everybody. We've been trying to train the members with our fuel station, our car wash, a little pop-up store to just give them forewarning that this is coming. But what we find is that it doesn't matter what generation you're from, whether it's Gen Z all the way through to the greatest generation, or what income level you are, or whatever your background is, once you allow yourself to be connected to that digital ecosystem, you just never go backwards. And we find that true anywhere in the country too.
What are the biggest things you hope to learn from this kind of real-world laboratory that you're launching in Dallas with this new club?
Yeah, it is a real-world laboratory. And, you know, I mentioned a second ago that we are people-led and tech-powered. We're not doing this because of some ego trip on we don't want registers. We've seen enough with the journey we've been on with our exit arches, using computer vision, simplifying our associates' lives, that has allowed us to believe that this is a risk worth taking in one place. And there is, I mean, sure, we could iterate and we could take small steps and, get 5% growth a year in digital engagement. But I think the members want us to get there faster, but they need help. So here's, if I might, one of the things that we've done, and we've done for some time now, is to try and take work off our associates, try and take the mundane work out of the system. So inventory control is a really important part of that. So we have a system now that takes 23.5 million images a day of where all of the inventory is in the club. And that connects to an associate's personalized device that tells them what the next best task is. And this year, we'll take 100 million tasks out of the clubs. And the reason that's important is I won't have fewer associates, but now those associates can spend time connecting with members. They can help them connect on being digitally engaged. They can help them connect with the services that we're creating. They can help do the work of e-commerce that's growing really rapidly too. And by taking the mundane work off the associates and giving them more meaningful work and work that helps us grow, we get to do things like accelerating our digital engagement, which is really exciting.
With e-commerce, obviously you have all these new roles that are being created because of online growth. You've had double-digit online growth. I think in the last quarter it was close to 22%, if I remember correctly, which is not something that people might associate with a club channel known for big and bulky items. What are people ordering online, and what trends are you seeing in the e-commerce space, because the club channel is so different?
It's really different, and I think historically there's always been this idea of you can have great items and great prices, really great prices, like 25% cheaper than retail, but there's a cost to pay for it, and the cost is friction. You have to scan your way in, you have to wait in a long line at the checkouts, you have to queue to get out of the club. And you have a restricted assortment that's been curated for you. We agree that those two things are important, but we don't agree that friction is something that should be a feature. Now, we are owned by Walmart, and Walmart has spent a lot of money on building world-class underlying platforms of technology and supply chain automation, supply chain technology, the math that goes behind how you flow products, and then e-commerce, whether it's the app, whether it's what's on the desktop, or all of the underlying systems. We are, in Sam's Club, leveraging the back end of that, which allows us to scale really quickly without the cost associated with it. So we can offer our members unique efficiency, unique simplicity in their lives through e-commerce that the club channel can't normally do, because there's such an investment that would need to be made. So we get to keep prices low, but give them convenience too. And I would say the members really need it and want it. Our members need us to be there to serve them as they want. But I would say this, it's really important that's not at the cost of price. So the value that we give our members, we want to give them online too. So we're at parity online and in club. So people still get the value of being part of the club, but they also get the huge experience boon. And people are thanking us for it. So we have more than 50% of our members now digitally engaged.
You mentioned the Just Exit technology, which is AI and computer vision powered. What other AI tools are you working on or testing?
Yeah, I won't go into the proprietary ones, but there's some really cool use cases coming along. We've learned over the years to create this hotbed of computer vision capability that's allowing us to solve all kinds of problems. And there are two things that we think about as we think about problem solving, is that you can't solve a problem for the member if you're not solving it for the associate as well, because otherwise it's theoretical. You've got to take work off the associate so they can then serve the member in the way that you want to serve them. We've got some pretty cool things that you'll see in Grapevine. No checkouts is one of them. But understanding where our members are in the club, serving them real-time adverts that help them sort of think about their shopping trip differently, where you prompt them. We have a feature in our club which is like, we will sell out and you won't see it till next year. will remind you that that's coming. So this like online to offline connection is really profoundly important. And one of the things that, you know, I'm sure a lot of you are talking about is this idea of personalization. And AI plays a big role in that, in the quality of that personalization. And in the membership club, you know, the benefit we have is that everyone's a member. So we know their behavior we know the full cycle of everything you do, and therefore we can put AI to work there really well. And there's a lot of back-end work that is not very, you know, noteworthy from a headline point of view, but if you can use AI to control inventory in a different way, it literally transforms the economics of retail. So we've got, maybe this is obvious to everyone in this audience, but the hardest thing in retail to do is to know what you own and where it is.
Yes.
And this idea of using AI to decide what inventory you place where, whether it's in fulfillment centers, whether it's where in the distribution center and where in the club, that's really important. And then when you're in the club, having computer vision tell us what's coming into the club, having computer vision validate everything, and having computer vision decide and tell us what is going out of the club means that we have complete fidelity of what we own and where it is. And that, I think, is certainly the first time Sam's has ever been there. And the use cases for that are profound and drive a lot of efficiency, as well as great in-stock.
Are there any other AI-related features that customers will see? I remember talking about, there's a feature in Scan and Go where you suggest things like, if bananas are part of a customer's order, it says, did you forget your bananas?
Did you forget your bananas? Or last time you were here, you bought a fresh pizza. Like, if you order it now on the app, it'll be ready by the time you finish. So this idea of serving up inspiration as you shop is really exciting. And I think, you know, maybe another thing that you'll see in Grapevine is there's something that's really cool that happens when you don't have registers. And that's that you get a load of space back. So the question is, what do you want to do with that space? And so my team lovingly call it the dance floor. So we have this dance floor, and we've created these inspiration spaces that are purely things you can buy online. And so people, not only are they shopping with their phone online, but they get to transact and buy something online whilst they're shopping in real life. And I think this like really exciting connection of like in real life and online, and those two things being inextricable is really exciting.
Yeah, it's interesting to connect that offline and online. And I remember them telling me one of the things that will be on display and online only is a Mercedes SUV.
Yeah.
Which is something that people would normally not see in a
blue
style.
Mercedes SUV.
Exactly. The other thing that I noticed, last quarter you reported that about half of your new members in that quarter were Gen Z and millennials, a striking statistic. What are you learning about that shopper? How are they similar or different than prior generations?
Yeah, we're really excited about that emerging trend of Gen Z and millennials. Firstly, like capturing the imagination of those members early is really healthy for us because, of course, they're just starting their consumption journey as they grow through life. There's a couple of things I would say. The first is that this idea that the club channel is somehow just big and bulky and you just stock up is a thing of the past. So actually the biggest use case for Sam's Club today is the top-up shop. So frequency is changing a lot, and e-commerce is, of course, accelerating that.
What kind of things in that top-up shop?
Yeah, so this is like dad or mum driving home and buying that lasagna or the lobster mac and cheese and the Russian River Pinot and maybe some diapers too. Like this is it actually feels much more like a grocery trip that then is augmented with really good quality GM and really good quality treasure hunt items that we hope you buy because you're passing them as you shop. And so I think that the reason that that's important in terms of frequency is that there's this idea that the total addressable market for the club channel wouldn't be relevant for the Gen Zs because they've got smaller houses, they're just starting out, but actually we're seeing a lot more engagement in the top-up shop. What we hear from them is two things. They love the digital engagement. The lack of friction is very important. They do not want to spend their time paying for convenience with time and paying for good value with time. We agree with them. We don't think you should do that. The second thing they say to us is we love to save money and we don't think it's smart to just spend money for its own sake, and we agree with them. And the third thing they say, which may be a little controversial, but I'll just say it, is that they really love Members Mark. They love the innovation that comes from our house brand. We call it a national brand that's just not advertised, that chooses to sell itself at Sam's Club. Because a lot of the Gen Zs and the millennials are telling us that they are not that wedded to some of the legacy brands that maybe we all sat and watched adverts for on TV. And so they don't have the same connection. And so we find that they're more open to social media, they're more open to peers telling them what's valuable. And so we see a lot of that with our Members Mark community. We've got 50,000 members in a community, and they tell us what should we be selling. They tell us what flavor profiles, what styles, what colors. We don't have me. I'd be a terrible person to sign off on as it's a good Members Mark item. I mean, I'm a British guy from the north of England, for goodness sake. You don't need me doing that, but what you do need is members to give you inspiration, and transferring that power to members of saying, you tell us what you need and we will curate it for you, is really powerful. Those people become real proponents and vocal advocates, not paid media, but just, they're there telling their story. And we find that the Gen Z and millennials are really connecting with that too. So there's Members Mark versus legacy brands. There is digital engagement, which we really love. And then there's just great value.
Speaking of private label, that's been a huge emphasis for you. You've really been both scaling up the diversity of types of products, and also you told me last week that you cut over 1,000 SKUs, which is a lot of items to take off the shelf.
It is.
Kind of the opposite of what a lot of retailers are doing. I know you're a little bit taking from the page of Costco and the success it's had with Kirkland. What are you doing to kind of put your own spin on private label, and what have been the biggest changes you've made?
Yeah, I would argue that we're quite unique. Members Mark is, I'll touch on this SKU thing first. We've gone from 5,500 to 4,000 items in Club. And what's really great about it is that they're all pallet positions. And the reason that you need a pallet of it is because the velocity of the item is selling so rapidly that you can't have it on a shelf because you can't keep it in stock if you do. And that demands that the item is excellent. It demands that it is innovative. It demands that there's good value. It demands that the quality is exceptional. And what we find is that we want people to know that we stand for the highest quality, that we stand for sustainable ingredients, that we stand for sustainable supply chains, and that we stand for creating disruptive innovation. And what we found is that from a lifestyle point of view, whether it's your patio set, whether it's your barbecue grill, whether it's wine, I keep going back to wine, I don't know why, maybe it's Vegas, whether it's the meat and the supply chain, whether it's your trash bags, people care about that being an elevated item. And the thing we feel and see from our members, and they tell us it again and again, is that they enjoy the idea that they can live an elevated life without having to pay elevated prices. And we are really focused on that. And I can tell you the supply chain of some of the items we've got are significantly invested in versus some of our, let's say, national brands.
The delicate thing about expanding in private label, of course, is that you also rely on national brands to be on your shelf. And I know you've been adding a wider variety of some upmarket national brands as well. How are you negotiating that sort of tension between having national brands and also trying to get more market share of your own?
I don't feel it's a tension, actually. We are on an aggressive growth journey. The club channel is growing faster than any part of retail, and that's global, not just a US phenomenon. And we have significant growth ahead of us, and we're still a relatively small part of the total market. We rely on and love national brands. We rely on and love big, invested, advertised brands. But here's the thing. Those brands need to innovate, and those brands need to continue to bring great value. And when they do, our members love them. And we love them too, and we want them to continue to win. I also have a very high standard for setting the bar on what that innovation and value looks like. And I think that natural tension is just really healthy for everybody, honestly. But we will always be a house of brands. We love being a house of brands, but we will continue to set that bar really high.
We've got to wrap it up soon, but my last question is, are there any surprising food trends or consumer trends that might not be on our radar?
Oh, apart from Bluey, which is ridiculous, and my kids love, here's the thing that maybe I'll counter the question. There seems to be this question that comes every season about, well, customers are price conscious. I've lived in 9 different countries. I've been in retail since I was 14, and I'll tell you that the thing that has never changed is that members and customers want great items at great prices, and they want it to be consistent. And so this year, for Thanksgiving, Sam's Club will have a Thanksgiving meal for 10 people for less than $100, and it's an elevated experience. It is an elevated meal that any one of you would be proud to sell to your family. So I think innovating, giving more, and giving people a reason to connect and feel that they can have an elevated life, but within a budget, I think is something that, well, I for one, am very invested in.
Thanks again, Chris. You got us thinking ahead for our turkey.
Good, I hope so. Please come to Sam's Club.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.